finance minister is out buying new budget shoes today, she should drop by a Toronto food bank where 1 in 10 Torontonians are having to use their services after 8 years of her government. Tomorrow's expensive photo-op budget will only confirm why interest rates are staying higher for longer and why Canadians can't afford to eat, heat and house themselves. After 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, they are not worth the cost of housing. Will this Liberal NDP government listen to Conservatives, cap spending, bring in a dollar-for-dollar law to bring down inflation and interest rates so Canadians don't lose their homes?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe the honourable member opposite needs to take a look at what is announced earlier this month and the month before, which is that inflation in Canada is below 3% for the second month in a row. Mr. Speaker, AAA debt rating for this country, one of the very few countries in the world to have that. Mr. Speaker, lowest debt to GDP ratio. Now, while that party is all doom and gloom, we are here working every day for Canadians on a school food program, on a Canada Child benefit, on making sure that we have $10 child care across the country. Mr. Speaker, we're working for Canadians each and every day.
The Honourable Member from Calgary Forest Lawn.
With answers like that, he'll make a great high-priced Liberal consultant after the next election who's not worth the cost. What doesn't he understand? When 2 million Canadians are going to a food bank in a single month, 1 million more projected to this year, where young people can't see the dream of home ownership, where rents and mortgages have doubled after failed policy of the Liberal NDP government. Why doesn't he get with the program and before he gets kicked out of his position and listen to Canadians? Why don't they implement a dollar-for-dollar law, cap the spending, so Canadians don't lose their homes?
Well said.
The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, that party and that member not only have no plan for housing, the meagre plan that they have actually wants to make it more expensive to build houses in this country, and they're against every single measure that we've done to actually make home ownership affordable for Canadians. Again, Mr. Speaker, that Alberta MP voted against Air Products' $1.6 billion net hydrogen plant in our province, voted against the first carbon capture, use and storage net zero cement plant in our province. Mr. Speaker, they're voting against Alberta jobs. They're voting against Canadians. We're here for Albertans and Canadians each and every day.
The Honourable Member from Peterborough-Kawartha.
After 8 years, this NDP Liberal government Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Emily Wheaton is a single mom who lost her home because she didn't qualify for her mortgage renewal. Why? Because of this Liberal NDP inflationary spending, which has driven up interest rates. So now she's forced to rent. She's paying nearly $4,000 for a 600 square foot apartment. Tomorrow's budget, we're asking for the Prime Minister to show compassion and sanity. Have a dollar of spending for every new dollar spent, so Canadians can afford to keep their
$1
homes.
of savings.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, what you will see in tomorrow's budget is support for renters and homeowners alike, and we'll do that all the while being fiscally prudent with the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7, with a AAA credit rating from an independent, objective observer, Mr. Speaker, as well as traditionally low unemployment. We do that at the same time as working for the most vulnerable in this country, something that the Conservatives vote against every single time. We expect all members of this House to support Canadians across the board. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Peterborough-Kawartha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What Canadians don't believe is anything they say. Right. They've had 8 years to prove a record, and more homes were built in the 1970s than have been built today. 10 cities across this country are normal. Don't tell people they've never had it so good when we have record high usage of food banks, when we have young people who will never own a home, and when interest rates have went up 2%, causing $10,000 a year in interest payments alone. Shame. Let's do a dollar for dollar. Let's show some sanity, and let's allow Canadians to keep their homes.
The Honourable Minister for Families and Children.
I think what Canadians need to know is what the Conservative response is to the affordability challenges that Canadians are facing. It's cuts. It's cuts to the programs that they need and are supporting them in a time of need, abandoning them when they most need it. On this side of the House, we've put forward a national school food program. We've put forward $10 a day childcare, the Canada Child Benefit, supports that are helping Canadians put food on the table and support their families, in contrast to everything that they oppose.
The
Nobody
honourable member
clapped
for
you.
Mégantic-Lérable. For 3 weeks now, the Liberal Prime Minister and his ministers have been displaying all the failures of this government after 8 years. Inflation, interest rates, rents, mortgage payments, everything's going up. And it's going to continue with the Liberals. Tomorrow is the budget day. Will the Prime Minister, who isn't worth the cost, at least accept our demands to cut taxes for farmers and food, build housing, not bureaucracy, and apply dollar-for-dollar discipline, and especially put an end to the parade of inflationary spending so Canadians can feed themselves and house themselves? The Honourable Minister for Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 affordable housing units. That's what the leader of the Conservatives built when he was housing minister. That's in contrast with the 8,000 affordable housing units that we are building now, in partnership with the Government of Quebec and municipalities. In Mégantic-Lérable, the project will be building 24 affordable housing units just there, 4 times more than were built by the Conservative leader, the chief insulter. The honourable member for Mégantic-Lérable. It's not 24, it's 48, Mr. Speaker, and it's worse. CMHC is slow in approving that project. Mr. Speaker, I'm so surprised to hear that minister give results, showing off results that there's tens of thousands of affordable housing units he wants to build to correct a crisis his government created. That's the reality, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow, will they understand common sense, build housing, not bureaucracy, so that Canadians can house themselves and get out of the crisis that they built?